My boss had me escorted out for disloyalty. 6 months later, I quietly took the seat that decided their contract termination. It started with a calendar invite I wasn't expecting. Rachel Dunn has scheduled a meeting Monday 8:30 a.m. No subject, no context, no other attendees. I stared at it for a good 5 minutes. Usually meetings had at least a topic: client review, Q3 pipeline, something. But this, it felt ominous. My stomach sank before I even clicked accept. By 8:20, I was outside her office door pretending to scroll my phone, pretending not to feel like I was about to be ambushed. At exactly 8:30, her assistant opened the door with a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Rachel's ready for you." Inside, the blinds were closed, something she never did unless it was a performance review, or I now realized an execution. She didn't ask me to sit. She didn't say good morning. She just stood there in her charcoal gray dress, arms crossed, her expression colder than the glass table between us. "Claire, we need to talk about loyalty." That word loyalty, it landed like a slap. "We've come across some activity that suggests you've been exploring other opportunities. Am I wrong?" I opened my mouth. Not to lie, not to deny, but to try to explain. But she held up her hand, a printed email thread between her fingers, like a piece of damning evidence. "We've seen enough. There's no need for a back and forth." That's when I knew. It wasn't a warning. It was a sentencing. I was being fired. I felt like the room spun slightly, even though I stood perfectly still. I gripped my bag a little tighter, not out of fear, but to ground myself, to feel something solid in that moment of surreal clarity. "You've always been valuable, Claire. But value means nothing without trust. And frankly, I can't have someone here who's already halfway out the door." She said it so cleanly, so corporately, like I was a defective product. "A corrupted file? Your access has already been revoked. Please return your badge and laptop at the front desk." Her eyes were already on the next tab in her laptop. I thought I'd cry. I really did. But I didn't. Instead, I nodded. Calm. Too calm, maybe. "Thank you for the opportunity," I said quietly. "I hope you find what you're looking for." Her eyes flicked up. Just for a second. She was expecting me to beg, or protest, or ask why, but I didn't. I just walked out. Slowly, deliberately. Back at my desk, security was already there, too polite to be aggressive, too awkward to be kind. I packed up in silence. A couple framed photos, a broken mug, the succulent I'd nursed back from near death. Coworkers glanced up, their eyes wide with questions they were too scared to ask. I smiled at them, not a big smile, just enough to say I'm okay, even if I wasn't, not yet. I took the elevator alone down 12 floors to the lobby. It was oddly sunny outside for early March. And somewhere between the parking lot and unlocking my car, a strange thought hit me. Rachel thinks she won, that she got rid of a threat, but she has no idea what she just did. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't loud, it's silent, it's strategic. It's knowing that the moment they closed that door on you, they opened one you never would have walked through otherwise. And that's exactly what happened next. The next morning, I woke up at 6 a.m., even though I had nowhere to be. No office, no emails, no back-to-back Zooms, or last-minute decks to submit before 9:00. And yet my brain wouldn't stop rehearsing a script. Here are the growth metrics for the West Coast accounts. I've prepared a Q1 performance breakdown. It took everything in me to remember that wasn't my job anymore. Not because I quit, because I was discarded. I sat at the kitchen counter, still in pajamas, coffee going cold beside me, staring at the one thing I brought home that felt heavier than everything else. A tiny plastic folder labeled L&H, Vireo 2019-2023. That file, it held 4 years of pitch notes, campaign iterations, and success reports. That file was my career. No one handed me the Vireo account. I earned it. When I first joined Lennox and Harper Co., I wasn't anyone special. Just a 28-year-old with a marketing degree, a LinkedIn profile, and a resume padded with internships and volunteer campaigns. My first few months brutal. I was the note-taker in every meeting. The girl who ran for coffee, stayed late to triple-check contracts, and got CC'd on emails that weren't really meant for me. I remember once I stayed up all night redesigning a presentation deck that Rachel casually asked to refresh at 6 p.m. on a Friday. She used it that Monday, took all the credit. Did I complain? No. I smiled and nodded like a good little soldier. But I learned. Every ignored email taught me how to sharpen my ask. Every time someone stole my idea in a brainstorm, I learned to document everything. I wasn't bitter. I was evolving, quietly, strategically. 2 years in, I was given a shot at managing 2 mid-level accounts. One of them happened to be Vireo Labs, an edtech startup that had just gotten their Series B and didn't know what to do with their sudden budget. Nobody at L&H really wanted them. Too needy, too high maintenance. Their founder sent 2 a.m. emails and expected 7 a.m. replies. But I said yes. At first it was chaos. They didn't know what they wanted. Their ads underperformed. Their brand message was all over the place. But I listened. I met them halfway. I started showing up to their office unbilled hours, unpaid meetings, just to observe how their internal team thought. I interviewed their educators, sat in on their onboarding sessions, talked to actual users. And then, things clicked. We reframed their message, shifted the entire campaign from tech-focused to impact-driven. Suddenly, instead of saying, "We have AI in our platform," they were saying, "We help children with learning disabilities get ahead." That quarter, they saw a 46% spike in engagement. Their user signups doubled. And Rachel, she finally noticed me. "Nice work," she said casually. "We'll keep them in your portfolio for now. For now." As if I hadn't just saved a dying account and turned it into one of our biggest contracts. But I didn't argue. I kept showing up. I built a relationship with Ian Rayner, their creative lead, with Jess, their operations head, with Avni, the founder herself. By year 4, I was the reason they stayed with L&H instead of hiring in-house like they planned. But here's the part that still stings. In those 4 years, I asked for 3 raises. I brought data, awards, client testimonials, ROI charts that would have made any investor throw money at me. Each time Rachel nodded like she was impressed. Each time I got the same line, "It's just not the right time. We're adjusting budgets, maybe next quarter." Meanwhile, the company threw lavish offsites, hired 2 new senior VPs, and Rachel got a Tesla. Still, I stayed. Not because I was weak, but because I believed loyalty was supposed to count for something. It didn't. It was just currency they cashed in until I was empty. So yeah, I updated my resume, not because I was ungrateful, but because I was done begging for scraps from people dining off my work. I didn't even want to leave, not at first. I was just preparing. I never thought they'd find out before I was ready. I never thought they'd twist it into a betrayal. But maybe that's the irony. They called me a traitor for doing what they never did, valuing myself. It was 11:42 p.m. when my phone buzzed. I was lying on the couch in sweatpants, half watching an old rom-com with a pint of cookie dough ice cream in one hand and a resume draft open on my laptop. I wasn't really paying attention to either. I was just numb, still replaying that Monday morning on a loop in my head, still hearing Rachel's voice. "This is about trust, Claire. Trust." What a joke. The notification lit up my screen. Ian Rayner, Vireo Labs. Heard what happened. That's seriously messed up. Call me when you can. My heart skipped. Ian wasn't just some client. We'd spent hours, late nights, early mornings, fire drill weekends, building campaigns together, fighting over copy lines and color palettes and messaging tone. He was intense, blunt, a little chaotic, but he respected me. He saw me, and he never texted outside work unless it was urgent. I stared at the message, then called him. He picked up on the first ring. "Jesus, Claire, are you okay?" I didn't answer right away. My throat felt tight, not because I was about to cry, but because no one at L&H had even asked me that. "I'm fine," I said finally. "Just trying to process." There was a pause, then a sigh. "Look, I'm not going to pretend I don't have an agenda here," he said. "But what they did, it's not just bad form, it's reckless. They didn't even talk to you first." "No," I said, just printed out an email and told me I was done. Ian swore under his breath. "Avni's going to flip when she hears this." Avni, Vireo's founder and CEO. The woman who'd once told me, "You're the only person who understands what we're trying to do." Ian lowered his voice. "Can I be honest with you? Please? We've been talking internally for months now about pulling away from L&H. Going in-house. Not because of you, but because, well, everyone else." I blinked. "Everyone else?" Slow responses. Flaky campaign support. Junior-level work dressed up as senior strategy. It's not sustainable. We were staying because of you. There it was, the thing I had suspected but never had the proof to confirm. I never planned to poach you, Ian continued. We were going to wait, let you give notice, do this the right way. But now he hesitated. Now I want to talk to Avni tomorrow, because you don't belong out of work. You belong building something real. I sat up, my back stiff from the couch cushions. The ice cream started to melt in my hand, forgotten. Was this happening, Claire? He said softly. Would you be open to a conversation, a real one, about joining us officially? My heart started pounding again, but this time, not from dread, from something else entirely. Hope. I would, I said. I absolutely would. After we hung up, I just sat there staring at the wall. Rachel had fired me thinking she was cutting out a threat. What she didn't realize was she'd just handed me leverage I never would have taken myself. She thought I was leaving. She had no idea I'd be replacing her. Because now the conversation wasn't about what I lost. It was about what I was finally free to build. It was raining the day I walked into the glass building on 8th and Bellevue. The kind of slow, drizzly Seattle rain that soaks you without ever turning into a proper storm, like the city is quietly judging you. I tightened my coat around me and stepped into the lobby of Vireo Labs, clutching my umbrella like a shield. It felt strange walking into a client's office, not as their account rep, but as, what exactly, a candidate, a consultant, someone they technically no longer had to speak to. The receptionist smiled when she saw me. You're here for Ian and Avni, right? They're in the corner suite. I took the elevator alone. No pitch deck, no proposal folder, no agency name attached to mine. Just me, Claire Morgan, unemployed, unrepresented, and walking straight into a meeting that might change everything. Ian was waiting by the door. You made it, he said, grinning. You look, well, not like someone who got fired 3 days ago. Thanks, I said. It's the rain. Makes everyone look dramatic and important. He laughed, then opened the door for me. Avni was inside, standing by the windows with a mug in hand. She turned as I entered, all business, but with eyes that looked tired. Tired in the way only startup founders get after fighting for 5 years straight. Claire, she said. It's good to see you. I wish it were under better circumstances. I appreciate you taking the time, I replied. She nodded toward a small table with 3 chairs and sat down. There was no HR person, no recruiter, no scripted pleasantries, just Avni, Ian, and me. We've been considering building out an internal strategy division, Avni began. Something lean but impactful. We've outgrown outsourced models, and quite frankly, we've outgrown L&H. Not because of you, she added quickly. You were the glue. But glue doesn't fix cracks in the foundation. I stayed quiet, listening. What we need now, she continued, is someone who knows how to scale a brand that's no longer scrappy but not quite corporate. Someone who understands storytelling metrics and partnerships, someone who doesn't need a big title to get things done. She looked me in the eye. You've already done this job for us, just not under our roof. What if we changed that? Ian slid a folder across the table. Inside a proposed title, Head of Brand Partnerships. A salary that made me blink twice. Equity options. Autonomy to hire a small team. And a note at the bottom, start date, flexible. Let us know what works for you. I felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. A kind of stillness. Not relief, not victory, just truth. This wasn't a handout. This wasn't pity. This was earned. I closed the folder gently. I'm honored, I said. And to be honest, I didn't realize how ready I was for this until Rachel made the choice for me. Her mistake, Ian said. Our gain, Avni added. We talked for another hour, about structure, goals, pain points, but my decision was already made. I walked out into the afternoon rain with the offer in my bag, my heart calm for the first time in months. Rachel thought she'd ended something, but all she did was clear the path for what came next. The first time I walked into the Vireo strategy room as their head of brand partnerships, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt alert, not anxious, that was gone now, but tuned in, like my body knew I was no longer operating as a vendor pleading for attention. I was the one holding the map now, and I was about to redraw the territory. Our first internal sync wasn't glamorous. No ribbon cutting, no shiny new decks. Just me, my laptop, and 2 marketing managers from the growth team huddled around a whiteboard that still had scribbles from someone's Q2 dreams back in March. They handed me access to Vireo's archive campaign briefs, analytics, L&H reports. And for the next 4 hours, I read in silence. And what I saw, it made my stomach knot. Not in anger, but in recognition. There it was. Campaign strategies recycled 3 times over. Slide decks copy-pasted between clients. Reports fluffed with metrics that looked good, but meant nothing. There were notes I'd written buried under other people's names. My research folded into someone else's summaries. The timelines I used to pull together at midnight, now being referred to as collaborative efforts. But that wasn't what struck me. It was the realization that Rachel knew. She let it slide because it was easier to polish a surface than fix the foundation. And I, like an idiot, had helped keep the polish shiny. Later that week, I met with Ian, and the content leads to restructure the entire workflow. We decided to divide all strategic responsibilities into 4 verticals, and as part of the transition, I had to request materials from L&H, not to gloat, just to move forward. But the email I got back wasn't from Rachel. It was from someone I barely remembered, Nico, a junior strategist, who used to shadow my meetings and never spoke unless spoken to. "Hey Claire, sorry to bother you. Can I ask something off the record? No one here knows where the campaign assets are, or even how Vireo used to approve creative. It was always you. Any chance you can just point me in the right direction?" I read it twice. This wasn't a corporate exchange. This was a distress signal. The system I had built, the one they used for 3 years, was now collapsing without its architect. That night I stared at my ceiling for a long time. Not in revenge, not in bitterness, but with the clarity of someone who had finally crossed the border of something she'd spent years trapped inside. I wasn't the problem. I was the patch. And when they ripped me out, the seams split open. I forwarded Nico the public access folder. Just the basics. No commentary, no message. I wasn't there to sabotage, but I also wasn't there to save them. By Friday, our short list of new agency partners was ready. 3 names. 2 were modern data-driven shops I respected. The third, Valen Strategy, a small agency led by none other than Joanna Frey, Rachel's former mentor. She had left L&H years ago, just before Rachel was promoted. Word was, the exit wasn't friendly. Now Joanna's firm was lean, rising, fast and hungry, and they wanted Vireo. I highlighted the name on our selection sheet. My team asked any concerns with Valen. I smiled. None. They know how to recognize talent before it walks out the door. I didn't feel victorious. Not yet, but I felt the shift. The winds were changing. And this time I wasn't bracing for the storm. I was directing it. I didn't expect the rumors to reach me, but they did. Not through LinkedIn. Not through press releases. Through whispers, quiet pings. Late-night messages from people who used to sit 2 desks away from me, now wondering if they were next. It started with a group chat notification from someone I hadn't spoken to in months. Emily H. Creative Copy, Irel and H. "Are you seriously at Vireo now? Just heard. Things are tense here. Rachel's been in back-to-back meetings for days." Then came Thomas, the junior designer I once stayed late with during a holiday campaign crunch. "Claire? She told the team you sabotaged the account. Said we lost Vireo because you didn't leave properly." I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to, but because I knew what was happening. When a system collapses, it doesn't go down in flames. It just buckles inward, quietly, from the places that were already hollow. The following week, Valen Strategy was greenlit as one of our new partners at Vireo. Joanna Frey, Rachel's former mentor, walked into our office like she belonged there. Sharp suit, steady gaze, no hesitation. We didn't mention L&H. We didn't need to. Joanna knew exactly what this opportunity meant. And more importantly, she knew who made it possible. "Claire," she said after the kickoff call ended. "What they called disloyalty. Looks a lot like leadership from where I'm standing." "Funny," I said. "That's exactly what no one at L&H said." She smiled, but there was no pity in it. Only recognition. The next message I got was from Nico, the junior strategist, who had emailed me weeks earlier, quietly asking for help. 3 people quit this week. Rachel had a meltdown on a client call. It says she's been locked in her office all day. It's chaos? Again, I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? "I warned you, she deserves it"? No, that wasn't the story I wanted to be part of. The best revenge was never chaos. It was order built somewhere else. Meanwhile, at Vireo, my calendar was full. Strategy reviews, team onboardings, cross-functional check-ins. People asked my opinion. They acted on it. They came back with results. No one questioned my authority, not because I demanded it, but because they trusted it. That was the thing L&H never understood. Trust isn't extracted. It's earned quietly, consistently, until one day, someone looks up and realizes you've been holding it all along. Late one evening, as I packed up to leave, my inbox pinged. Subject line: confidential, from Melissa J., Finance Director, L&H. Claire, I know this might be out of line, but I just want to say I saw what happened. I saw everything. And if you ever need a reference or a collaboration or anything, I'm here. You weren't the traitor, you were the glue. I stared at the screen unmoving, not because I needed the validation, but because it confirmed what I already knew. Rachel was no longer defending the company, she was defending herself. And when leadership starts turning inward, the end isn't far behind. That night I stood by my window watching the city light flicker below. And for the first time I allowed myself one small indulgence. Not gloating, not vengeance. Just satisfaction. They said I wasn't loyal. Turns out I was just early to see the cracks. Early to leave. Early to build something that wouldn't collapse when one person left the room. It was a Thursday when her name appeared in my inbox again. Rachel Dunn. Subject: coffee. Just that. One word. A question. No context. No apology. No explanation. I stared at it for a long time. I had imagined this moment before more than I'd admit. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed to know, would she ever see it? Would she ever realize what she destroyed? Just to protect her illusion of control. And now here she was, reaching out, not in dominance, but in desperation. I didn't reply immediately. I waited 3 days. Not to be petty, but because I had meetings, deadlines, a team of 8 that now looked to me for guidance, not permission. When I finally responded, it was short. Sure. Tomorrow at noon. Vireo Lobby Cafe. 30 minutes. Nothing more. She arrived early. Same blazer, same posture. But something was off. The edge was dulled. The polish a little too thick, as if she was trying to glue herself back together. I nodded toward the table I'd already chosen near the window facing the street. I made sure she'd be the one sitting with her back to the glass. Thanks for meeting, she said, reaching for her coffee without sipping it. I nodded but said nothing. Let her start. I've been reflecting, she began, voice tighter than usual, about how things ended, about what I could have handled differently. You mean how you handled me? I asked evenly. She flinched. Just barely. Yes, she said. That. There was a pause, and I let it sit. Let her stew in it. I had no intention of filling the silence for her comfort. The truth is, she continued, L&H is in a fragile place. We've lost 2 major accounts since Vireo. Morale is low. Some of the board is asking questions. So this isn't a personal coffee, I said. No, she admitted. It's professional. But I also want to say I'm sorry for how I handled your departure. I was threatened. I see that now. I studied her face. And for the first time I saw fear. Not fear of me, fear of irrelevance. Why now? I asked. Why reach out? She hesitated. Because I know your voice carries weight. And if there's ever an opportunity to collaborate, no, I said firmly. There isn't. She blinked, not used to hearing the word without negotiation. Rachel, I don't owe you anything. Not loyalty, not diplomacy, and certainly not access. Claire, you called me disloyal. You let me be escorted out like I'd stolen from you. And now you're asking for alliance. I made a mistake. No. You made a choice. You chose image over integrity, control over trust, and now you're facing the cost. She went quiet, and then in a whisper I wasn't expecting. I'm not sure how to fix it. I leaned back, folding my hands on the table. Not smug, not cruel, just steady. You can't fix what was built to break, but you can learn from the ruins. How I stood up, gathering my things. Start by listening to the people you ignore until they're gone. I left her sitting there, coffee untouched, eyes hollow. And as I walked through the glass doors of Vireo's lobby, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finished. This wasn't closure she had given me. It was closure I had taken back. Not by yelling, not by burning bridges, but by walking across one she never thought I could build. It's been exactly 1 year, 12 months since I was called into that sterile glass office and accused of betraying the company I gave 6 years of my life to. 1 year since they revoked my badge, since they watched me pack up my plants and photos, thinking they were watching someone break. They weren't, they were watching someone wake up. Now I unlock my own office door every morning. An actual office, not a cubicle. It has windows that face the city skyline, a bookshelf full of campaign briefs with my name on them, and a coffee machine no one else touches because, well, they all know it's mine. The team I lead spans 5 departments. We just closed our 3rd consecutive quarter above projection. And last week I was invited to speak at an industry panel about leadership after upheaval. I almost laughed when I saw the invitation. Because upheaval is too soft a word for what I went through. But maybe that's the point. Sometimes the world doesn't throw you off course. Sometimes it yanks you out of a place you never should have been in the first place, and sets you down where you were always meant to be. Rachel hasn't contacted me again. I heard through someone, maybe Nico, maybe Emily, that she stepped down 2 months ago. No press release, no LinkedIn update. Just disappeared. There was no applause, no scandal, just silence. That's how weak structures fall, isn't it? Not with sirens, but with exhaustion. People sometimes ask if I'd ever go back into agency life, if I'd ever work under someone again, and I never answer the way they expect. Because I don't say no out of pride. I say no because I've tasted what it's like to build without begging, to create without being questioned, to lead without having to ask for permission. And once you've lived that version of your life, you don't shrink back to fit the old one. You don't explain why you left. You just keep walking forward. Today I mentor 2 women on my team, both sharp, strategic, and still sometimes too apologetic for being smart. I tell them the same thing someone should have told me years ago. If they call you difficult, ambitious, or disloyal, smile. You're probably getting too close to your power for their comfort. I didn't get revenge. I got clarity. I got peace. I got freedom I didn't know I was allowed to have. And I never asked for it. I took it. Because I finally realized, you don't need permission to stop being underestimated. You just need one moment, one decision to walk through the door they slammed shut and build your own.